Okay, so we are talking about IAM ecosystem. So it starts with the HRIMS, HR application. Okay, here, uh, here HR will update all the information about the user, all details like employee ID, first name, last name, department, manager, all that. Okay, now this will be the first thing in the ecosystem. What happens then? You would have your identity, I can say IAM system. You can call it IDP or IAM system. So what happens the moment accounts are added here, details, user details or employee details are added here. There are some batch jobs from your IAM system. They will go here and check the new entries in the system, and they sync all those accounts to here. There would be some scripts or batch jobs. So this is a primary IAM source for your organization. Typically, it would be Active Directory. If your organization is old and it has a large number of users, typically Active Directory. So what happens? This is HRIMS. Information is added here by HR, and the information syncs to Active Directory. So here it will provide authentication to your on-premises. Whatever the users are created, it will handle authentication to the on-premises. Now come to the cloud part. So cloud part, again in a typical environment, you would have, let's say again take Microsoft tool, that is Entra ID. So I think we know what happens. We know there is a Entra ID sync from Active Directory to Entra ID. So whatever the accounts created here, it will be synced, and it builds authentication for cloud, all the cloud applications. Okay, all the cloud applications. Okay, this is a typical situation. So now how it deals authentication? If it is a Microsoft environment, or let's say Office 365, SharePoint, all are integrated. You don't have to do anything extra. So the moment account syncs to Entra ID, Office 365, all Office 365 applications, and all Office or Microsoft applications will by default get authenticated by Entra ID. What if you have other applications? So for those applications, you need to onboard them here. If you go to enterprise applications into Entra ID, you need to onboard. Like you have, what is that? Let's say Salesforce. It will not directly deal the authentication. You have to integrate Salesforce to Entra ID. Similarly, Zoho. So all these applications are also called connected application. Maybe AWS. Also, if you want to deal authentication from Entra ID, because you want to have a single source of authentication. You don't want to have AWS authentication is dealt by AWS. You don't want to have Zoho authentication is dealt by Zoho. You want all the authentication to be handled by Entra ID. Okay. First thing, you onboard the applications, then you configure SSO. This is the next step. You configure SSO. With SSO, what happens? Now, after you configure applications, all these applications redirect authentications to Entra ID, Zoho, and everything. So what happens the moment user tries to log into AWS, it redirects that authentication to Entra. Similarly, any application. This is called SSO. This is the benefit of SSO. And the next thing, is the provisioning. Provisioning is something like, let's say, provisioning. Provisioning is something where you have uh, you actually getting first, you are getting users from HR, Active Directory syncing those users, uh, creating those users, and they are getting synced to Entra ID. And you also have Salesforce, Zoho, and AWS. So by default, the accounts will not be synced to any all these applications. We achieved SSO, but they still have their own identities in that. There, if you want to create an identity, you have to create here. Sorry, here AWS. You have to create identities in Zoho. You have to create identities in Salesforce. Similarly, if you have to delete a user, you have to go ahead. If you delete a user in HR application, it will be deleted in AD because it is synced. It will be deleted in Entra ID, but you have to go and delete all the users in all other applications. If your company has 100 applications, you have to go ahead and delete IDs in 100 applications. If a new user ID is created, you have to go ahead and create user IDs in all the applications. So this is with the large organizations very difficult. Even small organizations also, there are many problems if you follow this. For that reason, there is something called provisioning, and the protocol.
Can you explain this one more time?
Yeah,
This one.
yeah. Protocol use this scheme. Okay. So then, yeah, want me to explain one more time?
Yeah,
Okay.
one more time.
Okay. Let me create a new diagram. Okay. HR part I am not touching now. We got HR part, right?
Yeah.
And then this is AD, and we are syncing. This is Entra ID. Entra, and then you have several cloud applications: Salesforce, Zoho, AWS, and you have many, maybe Jira. Okay, let me write it. Jira, Zoho, AWS. Azure, you don't have to do anything because it is Microsoft. It will take care. And what is the other one we thought? Salesforce. Okay. Okay. So in the previous discussion, what we thought from the HR application, once user is created in HR application, they will sync to Active Directory. Since we have configured Entra ID connect from AD to Entra ID, the sync will be taken care. But what about all other applications? Let's say there are 100 users using Salesforce, 100 users using AWS, maybe 200, 300 or 50 users using Zoho. So your synchronization at this moment only till this point. What you have to do, let's say there are 100 users, you have to create all those 100 users in Salesforce also. This is a by default behavior because these are not Microsoft applications, they are not by default integrated. You have to create all those users in Zoho also, Jira also. We have achieved SSO. SSO only takes care of single sign-on authentication. If user tries to log into Jira, it will redirect to Entra for authentication. Similarly, Zoho, if a user tries to log into Zoho, it will redirect. So if we configure SSO, it only takes care of single sign-on. It will not take care of user creation in all these applications. Okay. So far we only talked about SSO. To solve this problem, what is the problem here? We are creating users from the HR application. All the users are created automatically to AD and Entra ID. It is fine. But Salesforce.
So, question is like whatever the users we have in HR applications, they are only using sales applications, right? Sales are
yeah, but we don't have a integration to all these applications. We don't have integration. The HR application is there, Okay, HR, and it is integrated to AD,
AD. AD.
and it is syncing to Entra.
AD.
When you have several applications, hundreds of applications, these are nowhere integrated. We have so far integrated only for SSO, for nothing else. So the account creation, let's say HR application, in the HR application there are 100 users joined to your organization. You created 100 users here, and it will be created here automatically. It will be synced to Entra. So till this point it will take care. But if those 100 users are using Salesforce, you have to create all those users here again. Okay.
So
Maybe
they have to be created in the Salesforce AWS
yes,
applications also.
yes,
100
yes. In the AWS also, in the Zoho also, any other. If you have 100 applications, you have to do this. Okay.
Okay.
Then later you can, since you have SSO integrated, so SSO created, you can make those accounts to sync with your SSO. Work with SSO. That is there. But creation part, it will not happen automatically to all these applications. Okay. For this, we need to configure provisioning.
Okay. Is it not sufficient to have the users data only in Entra?
Not enough. Not enough. Because we haven't made the connectivity or integration to all these applications for user creation.
We are
User
onboarding, right? We are onboarding.
Sorry.
We are onboarding the application.
Onboarding, yeah. We are onboarding application.
That
We are
is the integration, right?
yeah. That is only we are integrating them. We are making the communication between them are possible. There will be endpoint. There will be some endpoints here, endpoint here, and endpoint here for this application. We will establish connectivity to these two applications. Onboarding only takes care of that, only connectivity part, and SSO only sign-on part. But in order to avoid this creating accounts in all the applications, you have to do provisioning. Okay. Okay. You can do this provisioning using Entra ID, but in some cases, different applications are used. Maybe what is that?
SailPoint.
SailPoint. Yeah, SailPoint can be used.
One
Savient can be
identity.
used. Yeah, all that. Ping. What is the other name you said?
Yeah.
Okta.
One identity.
One identity. Yeah. So they can use it. That again depends. Entra can take care of it, but maybe they already have that product with them. And if you want to bring this feature to Entra ID, you have to buy a license. They might already have a license, or they might be using SailPoint for other purposes. That is also taking care of provisioning. So they didn't want to buy a separate license for Entra ID for provisioning process. So in the real world, these kind of constraints exist. So we have to understand and deal those situations. But now we are only talking about Entra ID. Then we can later come back to a little complex situation. So here we have to do the scheme provisioning also. Okay. So again, for each application, there will be some scheme endpoints here, like you have SSO endpoints. You will also have scheme endpoints, and there will be some secret also. So using that scheme endpoint and secret, you have to integrate all these applications. If you have 100 applications, you have to integrate all the 100 applications. And then on Entra side, you have to say, let's say I have a group, AWS users group. I can say only these AWS users are provisioned to AWS. There is a provision. There is a feature like that. You don't have to provision all the users to AWS. There are different set of users, Zoho users. You can create a AD group and assign that group to this scheme provisioning. It will provision those users to Zoho only. So we can do that. Okay. So this is how you have to create a configure the provisioning. So what happens once you create a provisioning? HR creates an account in HRIMS. It syncs to AD. In the AD account is created, and it syncs to Entra ID using the provisioning based on the group. Let's say there are 100 set of users. They need access to AWS. Only those 100 users will be created in AWS. There are 50 users. They want access in the Zoho. Those 50 users, only those 50 users created here. Okay. Based on all our configuration, the auto provisioning. This is also called auto provisioning. Auto provisioning will be
Okay.
taken care. Okay. And the similarly,
Auto provisioning.
same thing, because auto provisioning means, see what we are doing, we are now configuring provisioning. Okay. In the previous discussion we just discussed, we are configuring provisioning. What happens the moment HR account is created here, and then AD also creates account here, and it syncs, and based on our provisioning that we configured, it will automatically provision or create these accounts to AWS, Zoho and Salesforce. That is called auto provisioning. The similar feature also available with SailPoint. In the SailPoint,
So you mean to say Entra ID creates those users in those applications?
sorry, I didn't get you. What is the question?
No, you mean to say that Entra ID creates the users in those applications? Provisioning means.
Yes, it creates. Once you configure provisioning, because we also configured SCIM endpoints, right? Using those endpoints, and secret is kind of like you can say user ID, and it will be a single secret only. Yeah. So using this secret, it needs authentication and authorization also, right? Using this secret, it will be able to create accounts in all those. It will get access, and it will be able to create accounts in all those applications. Okay.
So, Jagan, from scheme and these endpoints, so where you have to configure that?
Okay, if you log into the application, and if you go to a configuration page, you would see SCIM endpoints. You actually see, let me see.
In Entra ID only, right? You have to configure.
See, no. So from Entra ID, there are two places. One is Entra ID. Okay. This applies to SSO. This applies to provisioning also, SCIM also. This is Entra. Okay. This is a other application. Let's take AWS. Okay. So here, let's talk about SSO. When you are configuring SSO, you have to add tenant information of AWS here. You have to add some tenant information, login URL, all that information you have to configure in Entra. In Entra, enterprise applications. Okay, tenant ID, all that information, and login URL, and will be couple of more details. And so here in the AWS,
onboarding, right?
Yeah, onboarding. Yeah, it is onboarding only. After onboarding, we can configure SSO. Now on the AWS side, you have to add Entra information, Entra tenant ID. Okay, this is here we are adding AWS tenant ID. Here AWS login URL. Here Entra tenant ID. Will be some certificate also. Certificate also.
In AWS, where you have to add this Entra ID, this detail?
In the AWS, if you log into AWS, there would be some configuration page to SSO. There will be every application. There will be some configuration page for SSO.
Okay.
SSO. So there, it will ask to enter your Entra ID tenant name, tenant ID, enter your certificate that you are getting from Entra ID, adding it here. And the same way in the Entra ID also, you would see if you go to enterprise application, it will ask your service provider tenant ID, service provider sign in URL, and few more information. So you have to do this here and you have to do this here. Every application. I took an example of AWS, but it applies to same to all the applications, be it Zoho, Zira, anything. You have to do this. This is the integration. Once this integration is done, next you will enable SSO. Okay. Okay. So kind of SSO is a you can say basic or prerequisite for any other kind of integration. So you would just not say integration and leave it, right? Why we are doing the integration? To first thing is to achieve SSO and then skim. So once this is done, this configuration is done both the sides, then you will enable SSO. SSO starts working. Now let's talk about provisioning. Provisioning also in the AWS side. If you go to AWS configuration page, IAM page, in the AWS also
SSO is also based on your login, right? It is configured and one log.
I didn't get you.
One
Get your question.
user ID. For SSO also you need a user ID, right?
User ID in the sense regular user ID
So
you are
you-
talking, a service account or something you are talking about.
I mean, you try to access AWS without entering credentials only, it will directly go to Entra for communication.
Yeah, of course. For that you need a admin account. With the admin account you log into Entra ID. With the admin account of AWS you log into AWS. If not admin account, like least privilege access, like whatever access, whatever role allows you to configure this page, maybe identity, AWS IAM administrator, or maybe there is another role that will allow this configuration. With that role you need to log in here. Here also admin ID having a role. I think the role name is application administrator. I don't remember, but there is some role. You have to have that role. You don't have to have a global admin. So when you are configuring, get that role to your admin account, role assigned to your admin account, and then you can make the changes into your Entra ID SSO page or onboarding page. The same way you have to get a AWS account and which has access, and you can then will be able to change all of this. So in the real cases, real world, what happens, there would be some AWS admin. We have to coordinate with him and tell him that you need to get whatever roles are needed. He gets that role. Usually AWS admin is the one who would be taking care of this part, configuration. We have to give this information to him. We have to give the information, pull that information from Entra ID and give it to him, and he will pull that information, this information from AWS and give to us. So both of us need to configure. This is how things work in real world.
Right.
Okay. Now let's move on to the SKIM. Okay. So in the above we have done the integration. Okay. Now we have to do the SKIM. So
No,
SKIM.
onboarding SSO both are done in that.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
steps.
Onboarding. After onboarding, you need to say that enable SSO. There are a couple of steps. So since we already onboarded applications, now we have to configure provisioning, auto provisioning, which is
Right.
SKIM is the protocol used. So we know protocols for SSO, right? It is what is that
OAuth.
protocol? OAuth is one
OAuth.
thing. OAuth is actually
OAI.
OIDC.
Other
OIDC
OAI.
is one protocol. There is another protocol, SAML.
Samara.
Yeah. Using these two protocols, we configure SSO. One of
So we
these.
configure SSO on the Entra side only.
Sorry.
We configure SSO on the Entra side only.
Yeah, Entra side
On
only.
Entra.
Entra side only. Yeah. Entra side only. We configure SSO Entra side only. Only in application side, we'll give this information. We'll integrate it. But the SSO configuration happens in Entra side only.
But OADC or SML, we have to check with
We
that
have to
person,
choose.
right?
We have to choose one thing here. We need to go and understand what is the protocol supported by the application.
Application.
There are some applications will support SAML, then you have to choose the SAML protocol. There are some applications support OIDC. You have to choose
Right.
based on that. Some of applications support both, then you can kind of choose both. OIDC is a modern one. It has some advantages over SSO. Sorry, SAML. I don't remember exactly now, but yeah, you have to decide on if application is supporting both. You have to decide what has to be taken. But basically, let's say AWS or Jira or anything, any enterprise applications, they by default give a SAML. SAML is a most widely accepted or used in any of the applications. Okay, maybe if you are your developer creating an application, for that application, if you want to create a SSO, then you can go for OIDC. And obviously, and also these applications are also supporting OIDC also. It is not that they don't support, but all of them may not be supporting. Some of them don't support OIDC. Some of them support only SAML. Okay. So any questions on this? Can we move to SCIM?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So what we
Yeah.
are talking about SCIM provisioning concept is clear, right? So again, how to configure SCIM on Entra. This is Entra. This is application. So on the application, you would have something called as SCIM endpoint. If you go to if you go to application, you go to the identity or SSO page, or there would be some page. This page would be not same for all the applications. So you have to understand that. Maybe you have to talk to the admins there, that side, and understand where exactly you would find this data. This would be responsibility of your application owner or application admin. We can just say that we need a SCIM endpoint and there is a secret. There is a secret. Okay. So now this SCIM endpoint and secret has to come here, and we have to configure. Again, in the Entra side, we have, after you onboard the application, beneath SSO will be there. Beneath SSO, you would have something called as provisioning. So you have to come to this page. In this page, you will be there are some places where you need to update these two, SCIM endpoint and secret. Then once you update these two, once you say kind of save and test, then you will be able to, your configuration is done. As I said again, you have to say that what are the users that to be syncing to this application. There will be one user you should be creating, and let's say 20 or 30 users you add to that group. Only these users will sync to AWS. And again, here there would be some option whether you want to sync only this group or all the users. That option is also there.
All the users.
All the users, whatever users that you have in Entra ID, all will be created. But usually it will not be the case, because it will not be case for all the applications. Let's say Zoho, and maybe finance team is using it, maybe sales team is using it. Jira, only IT team may be using. Maybe for Jira all users are needed, because all other users also need to log a ticket, right? Jira or ServiceNow, maybe all the users should be onboarded. But AWS or maybe Zoho or Salesforce, if you take a Salesforce, only sales team may be using it. Only sales users you synchronize here. You don't need to synchronize all the users, or not synchronize, provision. You don't need to provision all the users. So once this is done, as I explained, if any account is added by HR application here. It will be created here. It will be synced to enter ID, and from there it will go to all the applications based on what group it is assigned. But same way,
So,
if same way if a user is leaving, if a user HR deletes that user here or marks something like terminated user or something, your enter ID will disable that account, uh, and then since it is disabled and we have configured SSO, authentication has to come through enter ID only, right? So authentication will
yeah.
not happen since we have configured SSO. Accounts still be there. They may also get disabled, but they won't be deleted. Only when you delete the account here, it will be deleted in connected applications. This is called auto provisioning. So this is I explained in what you say enter ID uh, landscape, but there could be a different scenario in different companies. So any questions on this?
Second, one question.
Uh,
So that is dynamic groups are there, right? I mean, dynamically in Enter ID, whenever the user added in the source system, HRIMS system, they will be automatically added to the groups in the Enter ID.
yeah, you can have.
That
You
that
can
how does that configured? I mean, how does
see.
that happen?
See here, what you do, you will only say that I have a sales group,
Hmm.
okay, and you are saying only the sales group users you need to sync or you need to provision to Salesforce. But whether it is what is that you said, a manual group or what is the group you said?
Dynamic.
Dynamic group.
Dynamic.
It doesn't matter for it.
Hmm.
If it is a dynamic group, the moment user is added to the enter ID based on some properties or something, the user will be added here. The moment user is added here, it will be added to the Salesforce application. Maybe not
So it is
immediately, but whenever that
Hmm.
provisioning job runs,
Okay.
or you configured
fre-
some
how-
schedule.
How frequently that job runs?
That depends on. I don't exactly remember, but you can set that. You can either say immediately as user is added to the group, you can do that, or you can have let's say every 1 hour, every 2 hours, every 3 years. That part I haven't seen, but yeah, definitely there should be some option.
Okay.
But
And one more thing.
uh,
Users are added in the HRIS system. So, but those users should be added to the respective groups in the this
yeah,
thing. I mean, enter ID.
yeah.
So, how does that would be done? That is also done through a job. I mean, AD sync will sync the users, but will it sync directly put them in the groups? How does that happen?
Yeah, if it is a dynamic group, in the dynamic group you would configure rules, right? Let's
Right.
say for a dynamic group, when you are creating a dynamic group, you say that if a user's department is sales, then include that users into this group. And user's location is so and so. Add that users to that group. You will configure that what you say, the condition into the rule itself, into the group itself, dynamic group itself.
How frequently these groups will be done,
No,
executed?
it is immediately. Like let's say a user is created, and user has a sales user is belongs to sales department. If Active Directory or Enter ID identifies the user's department is sales, it will add it. It will be immediately.
So then you will have two entries. One is in the user's place, and another entry is added in the. It is added to the group, right?
Yeah, it will be if it is a dynamic group, it will take care of. It will be taken care. If it is not a dynamic group, you have to add. Let's say a sales user added, sales user joined today. You need to add that user to sales group. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
as you rightly brought this point, usually it will be dynamic groups only because there are chances of missing if we are using manual groups. Okay, so this is
Okay.
like Entra ID, Entra ID, what you say, landscape. But if you may have what you say, sale point. Okay, in the sale point, what happens? It all runs on the jobs. Okay, sale point. Let me explain sale point scenario also. Let's
Okay.
say this is HR application. Okay, and you may have AD, again a typical scenario, AD, and then you have Entra ID. You may have, you may not have, or you have sale point also. Okay, so the moment account is created here, it will go to Entra ID. Mostly it will connect with Entra ID only, not with not with the AD.
I think
Most of the
sale point
cases.
is first, na? It will sale point will make the connection.
That
Then rather.
depends. Yeah, this is one case. That depends. Some cases sale point would be your uh, identity source. That depends. In some cases, AD is the main. In some cases, sale point is the main. In some cases, HR will directly contact with Salesforce. Salesforce will be your sale point. Sorry, sale point will be your primary uh, maybe identity provider. That depends. So usually what happens if our organization already has AD from so many years and they are using AD as a primary identity source, they would keep it because a lot of on-premises application also depend on it. So they will not change it. We make AD as a primary and then SailPoint as a IGA tool. And if you are aware, SailPoint only take care of the IGA, identity and governance. It will not take care of, we cannot configure SSO in SailPoint. Only IGA. IGA in the sense
I mean,
provisioning.
provision, all the provisioning requests are made. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Made
So
up,
then you can
approved.
Okay.
use it. See, maybe you can use Entra for only SSO. Maybe if it is not Entra, you may use Okta or
Okay.
Ping, whatever.
Okay.
You can use them for SSO, but use SailPoint for provisioning. Provisioning and JLM process, joiner lever process, and zero day access. All these are the features from IGA. Zero day access in the sense the moment employee joins, he will have some set of access. This is also a feature can be configured through IGA. These
So
are,
then JLM can be configured in Entra also.
yeah, it is. It can be because Entra, see, Entra has features like first authentication, like your SSO and everything, and it has identity protection. These are features.
Right.
Identity protection, and it has identity governance. Okay,
Okay.
so it identity governance. These all features, whatever we are talking, are also available in identity governance. Identity governance. Okay, so that is why in our previous case we haven't brought any sale point here. Okay, we have done everything Scheme and SSO with Entra only because Entra also has that feature.
So you mean to the scheme is that governance, huh?
Yeah, Scheme is part of governance. It's part of governance, correct.
Okay.
Administration and governance. See, IGA, identity governance and administration. So Scheme is
Right.
part of administration. Governance
Okay.
is something else uh, maybe JLM. JLM is part of governance, and apart from this JLM and zero day access, all of this, there are some governance features also there in SailPoint. I'm not able to remember. There are some governance features. You will be able to see the uh, like uh, orphan users, orphan IDs will be able to see any problems with your IDs. Let's say IDs, there is some SOD violation. You know SOD, right? SOD
Separation of
means,
duties.
yeah,
Segregation of
segregation of
duties.
duties. If there is some kind of violation, SailPoint will catch it and say there is some SOD violation. So all of this will come under governance.
Mm.
There are many features like that. Okay, so they,
Governance means mostly tracking, right? What
yeah,
the
mostly
users are doing.
tracking, and then uh, you are kind of what you say,
For
yeah,
auditable.
tracking, and you
Auditing.
also you also tracking is one thing. You are also setting the baseline. You are saying this is a baseline everyone should be following. See, and governing, see, if you go real world also, governance, what is the governance means, there are many rules are set by the government we have to follow. If a rule
Mm.
violation happens, there would be some uh, there will be some action on that. Similarly, there will be some rules set here. If there is some violation, we'll be able to see here, and uh, like based on that, whether some automated action will be happening, or admin will come and see that, and he will take a action.
Mm.
So the difference what you see is here is SailPoint is only IGA tool. Maybe they have brought in some other features also right now. I am latest. I don't know, but it is majorly IGA tool. So in a typical scenario, SailPoint itself not enough for any identity landscape. You need to have one authentication, one tool for one IDP for authentication also. Maybe if you take
So,
Entra ID, majority
mm.
things it will cover. Even Okta also covering majority of the things. You may not have to come to SailPoint. Maybe SailPoint has some advanced features. Up, if you don't need those advanced features, you can manage the things with Entra ID and Okta.
Okay. With respect to governance, there are some advanced features.
Yes, yes. SailPoint has some advanced
The,
features, and it works very efficiently compared to the other tools because their main business is that, and they started with that. They are
okay,
prominent into
SailPoint is
that.
the oldest tool
Yeah, oldest
compared to
IGA tool.
Entra.
Oldest IGA tool. I would say that looking at SailPoint IGA features only, I am guessing Entra or Okta, all of these people have brought in
Okay.
the features, IGA
Okay.
features.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So now I want to explain one more scenario. Uh, so you heard about PAM, right? PAM.
Yeah, yeah. Privilege
Okay.
access
Privilege,
system.
privilege identity.
So let's take an organization, a very big organization. So okay, very big organization. Let's say this is your IAM landscape. IAM landscape. So I will just explain why, how uh, a typical, maybe not typical, but one, I'll explain one architecture, IAM architecture. This is HRIMS, okay, HRIMS. Then you will have AD, okay. You will have Entra. You will have SailPoint. You will also have CyberArk. If you go to, if you see any larger organizations, you would have all this. Maybe in case of Entra, you may have Okta, you may have Ping or whatever. Okay,
Ping ID.
yeah. If you go to any, if you go to big organizations, you may see this kind of situation, this kind of different tools into your uh, landscape, IAM landscape. Now, why do we have to deal with this different kind of tools? Because CyberArk is master in PAM. it has some advanced features that Entra cannot provide. Entra has PIM feature, privileged identity management. It covers up to large extent or some extent or large extent, but there are some features in PAM that are not yet there into the Entra, and your organization needs that feature. I remember of one feature called session recording. Okay, what happens if a user is logged in with privileged uh, role, let's say logged in with the global admin. The moment he logs in, the PAM will record his session and what is he doing. It records entire session and it stores it somewhere. So future for legal or governance or what you say, or all those requirements.
Auditing.
Yeah. So your particular organization needs this feature. Session recording feature is needed for their auditing purposes, compliance purposes. It is not there in Entra. Then they have to come here. It also has a feature called Vault. Vault. Vaulting feature. So what vaulting feature is again an advanced feature where your privileged administrator doesn't need to uh, type a password. His password is stored here. The moment he logs in, he will get authenticated with the vault. So this way, also we are reducing the risk on the password risk. We are reducing password risk. So these kind of features, if your organization needs, even though you have Entra, you have to go with CyberArk. And then in the same way, SailPoint. Maybe I'm not very sure. I need to cross check, but maybe zero day access is something. I think Entra is also has, but let's say just hypothetical situation. This feature is not there in Entra, or maybe it is not working that efficient. I'm just taking this example, but could be other feature. Then you have to use SailPoint also, and you have to use and CyberArk also and Entra also. In some organizations, there would be a separate team for CyberArk, a separate team for IGA, and there would be separate team for Entra for large organizations. So this could be a typical landscape for a larger organizations. Any questions on this? And we have 10 more minutes, I think. Yeah, if you say that we are nearing our time, we can kind of close it with some questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So no questions.
In the privilege IT access management, what are the roles can be we can do? Means suppose if I am a L2 guy,
Hmm.
suppose not L3 guy, so L2 guy. So what type of the roles I have to work on that
In the PAM,
the PAM.
in the CyberArk, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not able to recollect it, but uh, maybe some kind of violations. Maybe I was saying in the sale point, there are some SOD violations, right? That is a feature of SailPoint, but maybe CyberArk, I'm not that familiar with that. I'm not exactly aware what exactly are done by what exactly the L2 tasks. We'll
Okay.
figure it out. We'll research on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just to like having an understanding on that and how things work, then that helps. Then we can slowly go deeper and understand what L1 does, L2 does, and L3 does.
Yeah. So, but these tools are only operational use only, right? We are using actually
Operational, I didn't get your question.
operational task only. We are working on these tools, right? Only operations, not development, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Developer, not much developing, especially maybe in the sale point you would see some kind of development, because
Okay.
see what happens, uh, if you go to a real world scenario, what happens, there would be many applications, let's say one homegrown application.
Mm-hmm.
Homegrown in the sense the company itself build an application. So
Okay.
SailPoint will not have a connector for that. SailPoint by default have connector to AWS, Salesforce, all that. By default, like market, whatever tools available in the market, it will have connectors to all those applications. But there is some
Okay.
application which is maybe homegrown, or there is some application built by a small uh, startup, some application is built by a startup. So SailPoint would not know or would not create a connector for that. If you go to
Okay.
a country, the the applications used in one country is different, used in other country is different. There could be one small startup build a product which is being used by a country, a state. So all those SailPoint cannot build by default connectors for them. So for them, developer has to build those connectors.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is the
Understood.
developers part. In the SailPoint space, we see more of development work. In the
Okay.
IGA, I would say.
IG. Okay.
In the IGA, any IGA tool, we would see that.
Coming to the sale point, other than the developer,
Hmm.
so what are the what are the operation tasks we can do perform like
Okay, see,
daily
if
in
you go to admin side, let
yeah.
me tell you, IGA, IGA admin side, IGA admin side. First thing, you configure HRIMS to your, if your what you say sale point is your primary identity
Okay.
identity provider, you will establish a connectivity between HRIMS and SailPoint, and then you will have to configure some jobs. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so and configure and schedule those jobs. So those jobs
Okay.
will probably every 3 hours or 4 hours or once in a day will go and check your HR application, and if any new user is created, it will create. It's not
Okay.
only about onboarding. Let's say a user is deleted or marked for a what you say terminated. User is terminated, then it will come and disable that user here. Okay, so
Okay.
those kind of jobs you can configure. Okay,
Okay.
and let's
Understood.
say mover also. Let's say a person moved from one department to other department. In the
Okay.
HR makes, let's say Srinivas has currently in the IT department. He has moved to let's say some, let's say finance, hypothetical situation, you move to finance department. So what HR does, he changes your department name to HR,
Yeah.
finance,
Name
or
based.
maybe you
Yeah.
got promoted, you became a director,
Okay.
so
Okay.
your designation will be changed to director. So that change will be synced here using the jobs. So you will configure these jobs, and then
Okay.
you will configure something called as SOD,
Okay.
segregation
SOD.
of duties.
Okay.
So SOD means, like let's say you are the timesheet submitter, you are submitting
Mm.
timesheet, and you should
Mm.
not be the approver for that. Approver should be different person. This is a segregation of
Okay.
duty. Okay. So if there is some violation, let's say you are submitting timesheet and you are only the approver for your timesheet. If that misconfiguration is done, SOD violation will be uh, what you say violation will be shown in your,
Detected, right?
yeah, will be shown in your sale point. Then you have to take a
Okay.
action. This is kind of a
Okay.
monitoring. You'll come here and see what is that violation, and then say
Mm.
you fix that violation. And apart from that, you configure JLM, joiner lever mover process. These jobs are part of it. And what you say JLM is one thing. I said zero day access. you configure
Okay.
0-day access. So all these things as an admin you will do. I may
Okay.
be missing couple, but yeah, these
Yep.
are the things.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, it's very informative actually. These things.
Yeah,
These are the
we will
basic.
have more session. It will help me also to refresh my knowledge. So we'll have more
Yeah, please.
sessions. Maybe you next
Yes,
time when we are meeting, maybe come up with your questions. We will
yes, please.
we'll discuss on those questions. Some of
Sure,
the things
sure.
I also may be not aware. Then I will
Yeah,
also research and I learn
yeah.
more about it.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. Really, it's very informative session, Jagan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome, welcome.
Uh,
It's my pleasure.
we just have, yeah. Thank you.
I love to share the information. I love to share the knowledge.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Yeah.